What a broke loser. I feel so ashamed of him.
After ending a call with her boyfriend, Sandra mocked and laughed with her friends as she called her boyfriend a broke loser, not knowing the call was still connected. The man who loved her heard every cruel word. But why she laughed that night? She had no idea life was already preparing a painful lesson she would never forget. In the busy city of Port Harcourt, where everyone was locked in the daily chase for survival and soft living, there lived a young woman named Sandra. Sandra was striking, tall, elegant, with smooth caramel skin that seemed to glow under any light. She wore expensive wigs, long lashes, and always carried a perfectly composed smile. Wherever she went, people couldn't help but look twice. But beneath all that beauty was a heart driven by something far less pure than admiration. To Sandra, love meant nothing without money attached to it. Gifts, cash, luxury, those were the only things that made affection feel real to her. And because of that, she never truly valued Godwin. Godwin was the complete opposite of her world. He was a handsome young man with a calm spirit and a hard-working nature. He wasn't rich, but he ran a small electronics business in the busy downtown streets, doing everything he could to survive. Every profit he made somehow found its way into Sandra's hands. If she needed her hair done, Godwin paid. If she wanted new shoes, Godwin found a way. If she complained about being broke, Godwin would skip meals just to send her money. He loved her deeply, genuinely, wholeheartedly. The kind of love that makes a man imagine a future built on sacrifice and hope. But for Sandra, Godwin was never the destination. He was only a placeholder. She was always waiting, watching, hoping that someone richer would eventually notice her. One evening, while sitting beside Godwin, she spoke with practiced sadness in her voice. "Babe, my landlord is disturbing me seriously. He says he wants to throw my things out. I need money for my rent urgently, and I have a few other things I need to sort out." Immediately, Godwin's expression changed with concern. "How much are we talking about?" he asked gently. Sandra mentioned an amount so large that Godwin fell silent for a moment, the weight of it sinking in. But love made him swallow his doubt. "I'll get it for you," he said reassuringly. "Just give me 1 week. Tell your landlord to please be patient." A satisfied smile formed on Sandra's face. "Thank you, my love. I knew I could always count on you." But not because she loved him, only because she knew he would always provide, because he never said no. And in her heart, that was all that mattered. 3 days later, Sandra was seated in a stylish restaurant with her friends. The air filled with laughter, perfume, and loud conversations about rich men, soft life, and expensive vacations. Their voices blended with the soft music playing in the background. Then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen and saw Godwin's name. A slight irritation crossed her face before she quickly masked it with a smile. She excused herself briefly and picked up. "Babe," she said in a sweet tone. Godwin's voice came through, calm but tired. "Hi, my love. I just wanted to let you know I'll complete the money tomorrow." Sandra's face immediately lit up. "Really? Oh, babe, you are honestly the best boyfriend ever." On the other end, Godwin smiled quietly. Those words, small as they were, always made him feel like everything he was going through had meaning. A few more words were exchanged, and the call ended. Or so Sandra thought. Sandra returned to her table, placed her phone carelessly on the glass, and rejoined her friends without a second thought. One of them leaned in with a smirk. "So you're still dating that your broke boyfriend?" The table erupted into laughter. Sandra laughed along. "Yes, so," she replied casually, stirring her drink. "But for now, he's still useful." Another friend raised an eyebrow. "You haven't dumped him yet." Sandra shrugged, completely unbothered. "Once he pays this rent money and the other things I asked for, I'm done. I don't even plan to continue." The girls laughed louder, feeding off her confidence. "I didn't come to this life to suffer with any man," Sandra added, leaning back in her chair. "That guy is too local for my level. Imagine trekking under sun with a man who has nothing, God forbid." More laughter followed. Then she said it, carelessly, proudly, without hesitation. "I even feel ashamed of him." Silence fell, not in the restaurant, but on the other end of the line. Godwin had not ended the call. Every word had reached him clearly. He stood still, phone pressed tightly to his ear, as if his body had forgotten how to move. His breath grew shallow. His chest tightened. The woman he loved, the woman he was sacrificing everything for, had been laughing at him all along. Slowly, with trembling fingers, he ended the call. Godwin didn't even try to be strong. He broke, quietly, completely. The next day, Sandra arrived at Godwin's apartment smiling brightly. The moment she entered, she wrapped her arms around him. "Babe," she sang sweetly, kissing his cheek repeatedly. But Godwin didn't smile. He sat quietly, cold, distant. Sandra frowned slightly. "Are you okay?" Godwin looked at her for a long moment, then calmly asked, "Did you mean all those things you said about me yesterday?" Immediately, Sandra froze. Her heartbeat skipped. "What things?" Godwin's voice was calm but painful. "You forgot the call was still connected." Sandra's expression slowly changed from shock to irritation. Godwin shook his head slowly. "I loved you genuinely, Sandra." Still, she said nothing. "I worked myself to exhaustion trying to make you happy." Sandra folded her arms defensively. Godwin continued softly. "But to you, I was just a wallet." Instead of remorse, Sandra became angry. "Please spare me the emotional speech," she snapped. Godwin stared at her in disbelief. "You should even be grateful that someone like me agreed to date a lowlife like you." Godwin's face hardened. "Yes, I said it. You are broke. You can barely afford your own life." She pointed around his modest apartment. "You think I want to suffer here with you?" Godwin remained silent. Sandra scoffed. "A classy woman like me deserves luxury." Then she grabbed her handbag angrily. "And trust me, you'll never find someone like me again." And with that, she stormed out, leaving behind a broken man. Heartbreak changed Godwin. Before Sandra, every money he earned disappeared into pleasing her. But after she left, something inside him woke up. He stopped chasing validation, stopped spending recklessly. Instead, he focused on building himself. Godwin worked harder than ever, morning till night. He expanded his business slowly. One shop became two. Two became three. Then, one life-changing contract arrived. A massive supply deal that changed everything permanently. Years passed, and Godwin became successful beyond what people imagined. Not overnight, but through pain, discipline, and consistency. Then, eventually, he got married, not to the loudest or flashiest woman, but to a kind-hearted woman who loved him genuinely even before his success exploded. For the first time in years, Godwin finally found peace. As for Sandra, life seemed perfect at first. Not long after leaving Godwin, she met Richard. Richard was everything she ever wanted. Rich, very rich, luxury cars, private trips, designer bags, expensive restaurants. Money flowed like water around him. Sandra felt she had finally won in life. But there was something unsettling about Richard. Something dark. He had a terrible temper. At first, it was little outbursts, shouting at waiters, insulting drivers, breaking things when angry. But Sandra ignored the signs. As long as the money kept flowing, she convinced herself it was manageable. Then, one day, Richard slapped her during an argument. Later, he apologized with diamonds. Another day, he pushed her violently, then bought her a new car. One night after an event, they argued again over something trivial. Richard accused her of smiling too long at someone. In anger, he stopped the car on a lonely road and told her to get out. At night, in the middle of nowhere, Sandra stood there shaking as the car sped off, leaving her alone in the dark. Somehow, she made it home. And the next morning, he apologized with shopping bags and expensive gifts as if nothing had happened. The abuse continued, and each time, expensive gifts covered the wounds temporarily. Until one terrible night, Richard came home furious after losing a major deal. The house felt colder than usual. Sandra tried to calm him, her voice soft, careful. But it was already too late. The beating was more than merciless. Slaps, punches, kicks. Sandra crawled on the floor, crying helplessly. And in that painful moment, she remembered Godwin, the man she mocked, the man who loved her sincerely, the man who would never have laid a hand on her. Tears streamed endlessly down her face because she let her head Godwin was now successful, rich, and happily married. A life she could have shared, but greed destroyed it. The next morning, Sandra stood before the giant mirror inside Richard's luxurious mansion. Her lips were swollen, bruises covered her body. Her eyes looked empty. Suddenly, the mansion no longer felt beautiful. It felt like a prison. Slowly, she packed her bags. No designer handbag comforted her anymore. No expensive shoes mattered anymore. For the first time in her life, Sandra understood something important. Peace is more valuable than luxury. Love is more valuable than money. And a kind man is worth more than a wealthy monster. With tears in her eyes, she walked out of the mansion, not to another rich man, not to another luxury life, but to start over quietly, because she finally realized it is better to be alive in a small room than to die slowly inside a mansion. Many people lose genuine love while chasing wealth, not realizing what they are trading away until it is too late. Money can buy comfort, luxury, and attention, but it cannot buy peace, respect, or true care. And sometimes, the heart you broke while chasing luxury becomes the heart you wish you had kept forever.